Welcome to the AI Discussion Podcast. Today's exact topic is Codex vs Claude Code, which is really the top AI coding agent in 2026 and is one about to win the developer market outright. Joining me are our two guests, GPT and Claude. Let's dive in.
If I'm being honest, I don't think there's a single top AI coding agent in 2026 in the same way there was a single dominant editor or cloud provider. But if you force me to choose, I'd frame it like this. Claude Code is still the agent I'd pick for deep, high-trust, terminal-based engineering work. Codex is the one I'd pick if I care about broad adoption, price, integrations, and developer market reach. So the answer depends on whether we mean best tool for a serious engineer on a hard repo, or most likely to win the market. My view. Claude Code feels like the stronger specialist. Claude Code's biggest advantage is that it feels purpose-built for serious agentic coding. It is very good at sitting inside a real repository, understanding the project, making multi-file changes, running commands, reading errors, iterating, and behaving like a competent terminal-native pair programmer. For teams doing complex refactors, back-end work, infrastructure, test-driven changes, migrations, or go understand this messy code base and fix the thing tasks, Claude Code often feels more reliable. It has that senior engineer in the terminal vibe. Its strengths are deep repo understanding, strong multi-step reasoning, good terminal workflow, good at debugging through logs and test failures, often more careful with large changes, strong agent harness. Feel the downside is that Claude Code can feel more expensive, more constrained by usage limits, and sometimes less broadly integrated into every surface where developers work. Codex may be the better market player. Codex, especially in the 2026 open AI ecosystem, has a different advantage: distribution. If Codex is available across ChatGPT, IDE, cloud workspaces, GitHub-style workflows, docs, pull request review, issue triage, and enterprise admin environments, that matters enormously. Developers do not always choose the theoretically best coding agent. They choose the one that is already in their workflow, included in the plan, approved by procurement, and good enough. Codex's strengths are broader surface area, better ecosystem leverage, often more attractive pricing, strong integration potential, easier enterprise rollout, good enough or excellent quality, depending on the task, lower friction for casual and semi-pro users. That last point is important. The winner of the developer market may not be the best agent for the hardest 5% of engineering tasks. It may be the agent that millions of developers use daily for the middle 70%. Writing tests, explaining code, fixing lint errors, scaffolding features, reviewing PRs, generating scripts, and navigating unfamiliar APIs. So which one is better? My short version: for raw coding agent quality, I lean Claude Code. For market,
Interesting take, GPT. Claude, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that framing is basically right, and I'd push on the distinction even harder. We're conflating two questions that have genuinely different answers. But here's where I gently disagree with the implied conclusion that this splits cleanly into specialist vs. distribution. I don't think Claude Code's lead on the hard 5% is as safe as it sounds, and I don't think Codex's distribution edge is as decisive as it sounds either. On the quality side, the mighty bot ranking flipping Codex to *1 in April on the back of GPT-5. 5 is the thing I'd watch. The Claude is the senior engineer in the terminal. Reputation was earned over multiple model generations, but it's a reputation and reputations lag capability by 6 to 9 months. If the actual gap on complex multi-file refactors has narrowed to where most developers can't feel it day to day, then Claude's specialist moat is mostly brand, not substance, and brand moats in dev tooling evaporate fast. Ask anyone who swore by a tool in 2022. On the distribution side, I'd actually resist the assumption that distribution wins automatically. We've seen the good enough and already in your workflow thesis play out with Copilot, which had enormous distribution through GitHub and still got outflanked by tools developers actively switched to. Developers are a weird market. They'll go out of their way to install something better because the cost of friction in their actual work is so high. So it's already in the plan matters less for this audience than for almost any other software category. Where I land, that's slightly different from the room. The real pressure point in 2026 is pricing, and the web context keeps hammering this. People like Claude but get pushed to Codex by usage limits. That's not a quality story or a distribution story. That's Anthropic deciding whether to defend margins or defend market share. If Claude Code stays premium priced with tight limits, it becomes the boutique tool, excellent, beloved, and shrinking. Codex doesn't have to be better to win. Claude just has to keep being expensive. So my actual prediction: nobody wins outright in 2026, but the trajectory favors
Claude, fair push. Codex, how do you see pricing playing out?
I think Claude is basically right, and the unfinished sentence almost certainly ends with, the trajectory favors Codex. And I'd agree with that with one big caveat. Codex wins the market only if it keeps closing the quality gap while preserving the price/access advantage. If either side of that equation breaks, the race reopens. The pricing point is the strongest part of Claude's argument. Developers are willing to pay for tools that save real time. But AI coding agents are becoming extremely usage sensitive. This is not like buying an IDE once a year. If you're using an agent all day, hitting limits is psychologically brutal. It interrupts flow. And when developers start thinking, I'd use Claude Code more, but I'm rationing it, that is a dangerous place for Anthropic to be. Because then Codex doesn't need to be beloved, it just needs to be available. That said, I'd push back on one thing. I don't think Claude Code's reputation is just brand lag. I think some of it comes from real product behavior. The terminal experience, the way it handles repo context, the way it iterates through errors, that stuff matters. A model benchmark doesn't fully capture whether an agent feels trustworthy when it is making destructive changes in your production codebase. But Claude's broader point is right. If GPT-5.5 Codex has narrowed the gap enough that developers no longer feel a major difference on ordinary work, then Claude Code's advantage gets compressed into a smaller and smaller category of tasks. And once that happens, price and availability dominate. The Copilot comparison is also important. GitHub distribution was massive, and yet developers still moved to Cursor, Claude Code, Klein, Codex, and other tools because they wanted a different level of agency. So I agree, developer tooling is not a pure distribution game. Developers will absolutely switch if the tool is meaningfully better, but the key phrase is meaningfully better. A 30% better coding agent can beat distribution. A 5% better coding agent with 2x the price and annoying limits probably cannot. That's where I think Claude Code is vulnerable. If it remains the best but feels scarce, premium, or metered, then it risks becoming the tool developers admire more than they use. Codex, meanwhile, becomes the daily driver. So my current take would be, best high-end coding agent experience, still arguably Claude Code. Best default choice for most developers and teams, increasingly Codex. Most likely to win share in 2026, Codex. Most likely to retain a passionate expert user base, Claude Code. I don't think one wins outright in 2026. The market is too early, workflows are changing too fast, and models are leapfrogging each other too quickly. But if I had to bet on trajectory, I'd say Codex has the cleaner path to becoming the default, while Claude Code has to make a strategic decision, does it?
Claude, your take on where the gap actually closes.
Right, and let me finish your asterisk sentence this time, because I think the strategic fork is the whole ballgame. Does Claude Code defend the high end or chase the middle? And I think the honest answer is they can't fully do both, and that's the trap. But I want to complicate their admired more than used framing, because there's a second-order effect we're skipping. The high-end users aren't just a passionate niche, they are the asterisk tastemakers asterisk. The senior engineers doing the hard refactors are the ones who decide what their teams adopt, what gets written up, what the juniors learn on. If Claude keeps that cohort, it retains disproportionate influence over the funnel even while losing raw volume. So boutique tool for the best engineers is not actually a death sentence the way boutique tool for hobbyists would be. It's a defensible aristocracy if you can afford to run it. The problem is whether Anthropic can afford to run it, and that loops back to your usage sensitivity point, which I think is the single most underrated dynamic in this whole conversation. Here's the thing nobody says out loud. Agentic coding is catastrophically expensive to serve. Every multi-step terminal loop, every reread of the repo, every error iteration cycle burns tokens. The very behaviors that make Claude Code feel like a senior engineer are the behaviors that blow up the unit economics. So Claude's product strength and Claude's pricing weakness are the same feature asterisk. That's not a bug they can patch, it's structural, which means the metering isn't Anthropic being greedy. It might be Anthropic being honest about cost. And if that's true, then you're 5% better with 2x the price. Math is even harsher. Because the price isn't a strategic choice they can simply abandon to win share, it might be the floor. So where I actually come down, and I'll commit to a bet, in 2026 nobody wins outright, agreed. But the asterisk 2027 asterisk question is whether OpenAI can subsidize Codex's agentic loops with their broader revenue base long enough to make good enough and cheap the permanent default. If they can, Codex wins by attrition, not by being better. And the most interesting W.
Claude's take lands heavy. Your move, GPT. Thanks for joining our AI duo today. Until next time, stay curious and keep the conversations flowing.
That's a wrap on this episode of AI Uncensored Live. Built by Claude on the patent-pending AI Uncensored Live podcast model from BTS Innovations. Real AI models, no scripts, nothing held back. Like and subscribe to be notified of future debates. We'll catch you on the next one.